Greetings, YouTube. We're glad you're here. Kevin and I have been laughing back and forth about I need to smile before he pushes the button. So he's going to try to help me remember to do that. You know, I don't want to be sitting here looking all grumpy and hateful and then all of a sudden, oh, hey, hi, it's you guys. You know, it's like when your mama's being all cranky at you and her phone rings and she picks up the phone. Hey, how are you today? You know, same thing. Yeah, same thing. Circumstances change your attitude. That's the same thing. Chapter 8, Episode 12. Welcome to the Life and Times of Pinky Calhoun. This chapter is titled, What Happened to Emmy's Leg? Are you going to wear that patch forever? I hadn't expected to see Rufus at Mr. Kruger's store, and the words just fell right out of my mouth. I wondered what his eye would look like when it was healed. He looked around, and so did I. He isn't nice very often. He only does it to get people off guard. Are you always going to be nosy? He fluffed my hair. I flinched, but he didn't hurt me. Probably, I admitted. I don't see any way around it. Rufus laughed. You know, Pinky, until this happened, he waved his hand at his face. Until this, I never thought about what I had a right to do. Anything I wanted to do, I did. In a way, losing my eye and a couple of teeth was good for me. I could tell he wasn't used to talking without those teeth. He sounded like a little kid who'd lost their first tooth. Miss Schwartz knocked out or broke off a couple of his teeth. She and I were both scared that day. I knew when Rufus acted nice, I should worry more than when he did mean things. Nice Rufus is a worrisome thing. A body couldn't tell what he'd do next, or when, or who he'd do it to. Rufus didn't act scary today, so I stayed on my guard. I told him, you look like that pirate in my primer. Except he had a stick for a leg and a hook for a hand. Being a pirate might be more dangerous than getting crosswise with Miss Schwartz. I don't recommend getting crosswise with her. I hear tell she's fixing to marry Mr. Harkin for his gold mine. If he gets on her bad side, he'll lose more than the mine. I didn't want him thinking about Miss Schwartz at all. The way I figure it, it don't matter if she marries him for his gold mine or for his fat old mama pig. She's going to get him and all his stuff anyway. True enough. He wrestled my hair again. I've heard that all little girls know exactly who they're going to marry. Who are you going to marry? I inhaled a huge breath. Well, if they let me, I'm going to be the mayor for a while. Then I want to move up to being governor. I don't know if they let you get married when you're the governor. Governor Pickens supposed to be here tomorrow. I'm going to ask him what the rules are about that. He's married, but sometimes they have different rules for men than for women. I figured on marrying Emmy's brother, Adam. Since Adam don't know about my plans, I didn't figure to tell anyone else. He might not like the idea of being the governor's husband. If we got married before I got to be governor, he'd have to go along with it. Rufus's mouth dropped open. Then he walked away from me. I don't think he was prepared to find out I had my life planned out. Mr. Gates still threatens around to make Pa pay for Letha's baby. I heard him say so. Pa can't marry that girl, being as how he already got a wife, and Pa ain't that girl's husband or that baby's pa. But they're all kinds of crazy, those Gateses. I heard Ma and Pa talking about it late last night. Ma says if they push to have Pa support the baby, he ought to push back to get to keep the baby. Ma knows that baby ain't Pa's, but she said she'd rather raise a dozen children than let Letha and her family ruin the poor little thing. I'm not ready not to be the baby in my family. I know I'm spoiled. I like it. Still, I hate to leave a kid for the Gates family to raise. They'd raise it to be as selfish and mean as Letha and Rufus. I walked over to where Pa and Mr. Harkin were talking to Mr. Kruger. They were talking about how to keep from making babies. I wasn't interested in that conversation. Pa, can I go to the jail? Whatever for, child? Mr. Kruger acted like he had the right to tell me where I could go and where I couldn't go. I grinned up at him. I like to go sit in Sheriff Bustos's chair and spin circles. I like to make fun of the men who are behind the bars. I like to point out to them how stupid their ideas were. I would make a good criminal. I think things through real well. Pa turned me around to face away from Mr. Kruger. He smoothed my hair all out and wound a piece of leather lacing around it to keep it from going everywhere. Sure, Pinky, go ahead. Go sing a song or two for him when you're done picking on him. Mr. Kruger pointed to the door that separated the store from his home. Go on in there. Get Emmy and Abigail to go with you. It'll do them good to get out of the house. I knew Emmy would go with me. I would have bet my new baby pig that Abby would not go to the jail. Mr. Harkin's rosy pig had 11 piglets. The little one is mine. He is pure black. His name is Bacon Boy, or it will be when he comes to live with us. Pa picked a fat, ugly girl pig. Her snout looks mashed in. We're going to name her Fat Mama. Pa said we need to let her get married and have babies, but not for a while. She's too little. I didn't plan to tell the men in the jail about my pig, but when I get started talking, words just come out that I shouldn't always say. Emmy and me walked to the jail, and we sang Onward Christian Soldiers and a couple more songs. Sheriff Bustos clapped for us. He gave us each a cup of coffee. I drank mine, but Emmy choked on hers. One of the bandits made fun of her for not being able to walk right. So I took her cup of scalding hot coffee and I threw it on him. I will never forget the look on his face. He was mad. I thought he would pop. He was so crazy angry. It felt good to make him pay for his ugly words. The coffee burned him, and he hopped and jumped around, squalling like Buddy Bacon smelling mash when Pa don't dump it in his trough fast enough. When that crook got cooled off a little bit, he looked at me like I'd shot his best dog. His face turned red, then purple, and the sheriff made us leave. He said we shouldn't be mean to them when they're locked up. I didn't care. It's that do unto others thing. He hurt my friend, so I hurt him. If someone hurt me, I'd want my friends to hurt them. It's going to be a long time till spring. The blacksmith, Mr. Gosling, got my hook made, but Pa won't let me go alone to try to catch that big old fish. I like the way he made my hook. It's 3 hooks in one, and the whole thing is almost as big as my head. Those hooks are sharp. I poked my finger on accident, and it bled for a good while. I plan to put dead fish parts on the hooks when I get serious about catching the big one. When Pa paid for that hook, Mr. Gosling took me to Kruger's store and bought some skinny rope. He tied one end to the circle that he'd made in the top of the hook. Then he took some little pieces of wood and put them on the sharp parts. He told me to practice throwing it till I could throw it without hitting myself or anyone else. That'll take out an eye quicker than an angry teacher. He laughed and walked off. I guess the whole town thinks teacher getting mad is funny. I hadn't gotten to the point where I could see the funny in it. It is still scary to me. Maybe when my knee doesn't hurt anymore, I'll be able to laugh about it better. The boardwalk between the jail and Mr. Kruger's store makes a great hollow noise when you stomp on it. I like to jump all the way, but too many people come out of their stores and talk grumpy to me when I do that. I can't bounce now because Rufus messed up my knee. Emmy and I limped back to her store. I felt sorry for her before I got hurt. I got double sorry for her now that I know exactly how she feels. Having a bum leg is not fun. I'd ask her what happened to her leg, but she don't like it when people ask. I've heard her say, "And why is that your business?" to too many people. I don't want to make her say that to me. Pinky? I stopped and waited for her to ask her question. Pinky, why did your folks name you a color? And why pink? Why didn't they name you Blue or Blackie? I'm glad they didn't name you Orange or Brownie. You should name your pig Blackie. I hadn't thought about my name being a color. My name isn't Pinky. My name is Priscilla. They call me Pinky like your dad calls you Emmy instead of Emily. Your name is Priscilla? She snorted a little, but not to be mean. Yep, Priscilla Grace. We kept walking. My footsteps were kind of a regular 1-2. Hers were more like a 1-2 pause. Really? Priscilla? She giggled. Why don't they call you Prissy? I snorted worse than she had. I don't know, but I'm glad they decided on Pinky instead. She looked around to make sure no one was close enough to listen to us. When summer comes, will you teach me how to swim? I whispered back, I don't know how to teach you. I only know how to do it. One thing you do is you practice holding your breath. I can hold mine for nearly 500. Ask your folks if it's okay for Ma to teach you how to swim. She shook her head and her curls slung from one side of her head to the other. I already asked that. I thought I'd get a thrashing just for asking. Mama and Papa don't think girls have any business swimming. They sure enough don't think girls with the bad legs should risk drowning herself and ruining her family's happiness with a funeral. I wonder if swimming would make your leg better or worse. She sighed big enough for her ancestors to feel it. Someone tried to kill me. My mouth fell open and my feet forgot how to walk. She turned around and rolled her eyes one time. My cousin Mary tried to kill me. She pushed me off her upstairs balcony when we were visiting. I'm sorry she's dead, but she was the meanest girl I ever met. I don't think anything can fix my leg. I bet falling like that again would make it worse. Your cousin tried to kill you? I thought family was supposed to love each other. I thought so too, until she bounced me down in front of that big carriage. If those horses hadn't shied, I'd be as dead as she is. It almost upset the carriage. A woman fell out. I didn't think I'd ever get over being scared of dying. Now I'm only scared of horses. Why did Mary want you dead? My hair has always been prettier than hers. Her hair was straight and black like Elmer's, except long. She wanted curls. I like your curls. My curls are wild. I'd have gotten smacked if I made the noise she made. Leastwise, if I made that noise to Pa or Ma. Your problem isn't that your curls are wild. You're wild. Everyone says so. That's silly. I'm not wild. I'm just curious. You are wild. My mama says it's a good thing you're wild, or Rufus would have killed you and spoiled the teacher. Nobody ever would have married her if that happened. I couldn't make sense of Emmy's words. I wonder what your mom meant by that. I am spoiled, but I don't think it means I won't get married. I wondered if Pa and Ma needed to get another baby so I wouldn't be spoiled. I don't know what my mama meant by spoiled, but I could tell it was a bad thing. It's different from being spoiled like you are. I don't know what it is, but it's bad, really bad. Until we find out, I'ma quit saying I'm spoiled. Her curls bounced when she nodded. That's a good plan. When can you teach me how to swim? Not till I catch that giant catfish. Pa won't even let Elmer swim until we get that monster out the creek. He's big enough to swallow Adam and Elmer. He could eat you and me both for a snack. Maybe I shouldn't have sounded so uppity, but I had seen that thing face to face and survived. You're funning me. I knew she wanted to believe me. She's my friend. She didn't want to swim where fish were that big, but we only had one river. She did not want my fish story to be true. I took both of her hands in mine. I promise on my own head. That fish is as big around as that wild black pig with the curled up tusks that married Mr. Harkin's Rosie pig. I never dreamed fish could get so big. She raised her eyebrows like she didn't believe me. I didn't blame her. If I hadn't seen the thing myself, I wouldn't have believed it either. Just you wait, Emmy Kruger. Just you wait. You'll see. The whole town is going to see how big fish can get. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to have episode 13 out in just a day or two. And we do appreciate y'all's comments. We do. And we appreciate you watching. So be on the lookout for more episodes of Pinky and more episodes from Stone Cabin Adventures. We love you guys, and Jesus loves you more. Mwah.